Copy 724, roger. Descend and maintain 2000.
Descend and maintain 2000, 724.
Comment 504, descend and maintain 3000.
3000, comment 504.
This is going to be the second part of this topic, Aeronautical Information Manual. We're going to start with the TFR. So what the TFR is like, it stands for temporary flight restriction, and again this is issued via the NOTAMs, and TFR is kind of a NOTAM, and an exam would be like an example is going to be that it could be there's a metropolitan city and metropolitan area, and they put the TFR on it that it is no or maybe there is a stadium and there's a match going on and a TFR has been issued that you cannot fly over it. So that would be an example of that. Okay, what can NOTAM information where can the NOTAM information be obtained? So you can get it from the flight service station. You can get it in the printed form. These are the NOTAM to Airman publications. Then DUAT vendors, DUAT. The DUAT vendors, you can get it from there. You can also get it from the internet websites. You can also get it from the Broadcast Flight Information Service, also known as FISB. Okay, when are VFR flight plans required to be filed? So as you may know that VFR flight plans are optional normally, and it is a good thing to do, but it becomes required if you are actually penetrating a coastal or domestic ADIS. Otherwise it's not. Like if you are doing a cross-country flight or like basically there's gonna be international borders, stuff like that, then it is required to file. Okay, what is DVFR? So we did talk about the SVFR, which was a special VFR. DVFR is the defense VFR. These are the VFR flights into the coastal or domestic ADIS, right? And they are required to file the VFR flights. Okay, when you land in an airport with an ATC tower in operation, will the tower automatically close your flight plan? So does it get automatically closed? So remember that the control towers do not automatically close the VFR or the DVFRs. You need to tell the nearest FSS. You can call them in order to close the flight plans. Okay, if your flight is behind schedule and you do not report the delay and you forget to close your flight plan, how much time from the estimated time of arrival does the FSS allow before search and rescue efforts are begun? So remember that if you fail to report or cancel your flight plan, they're gonna give you 1/2 hour. So it would be 1.5 hours, 1/2 hours before they're gonna start the search and rescue operation. And it's a good thing, like if you not in the search and rescue operation, it's the flight plan, filing the flight plan is a good thing because they know that you're gonna be flying from these locations, then what's gonna be your ETA, and they're gonna keep an eye on you. Okay, what is wake turbulence? Okay, so this phenomena basically resulting from the passage of an aircraft through the atmosphere. But normally this phenomena, this is the thrust stream turbulence, they basically happens because of the jet blast, like the propeller or jet wash, rotor wash, And basically it happens when big airplanes like the Boeing 737 or the big airplanes, when they are ahead of you, they're gonna have this wake turbulence, and the small airplane can really feel that effect, and it can actually be a big problem for a single engine airplane. So where are the wake turbulence and wingtip vortices likely to occur? So the area behind and below the generating aircraft. So if the big aircraft, multi-engine jet, multi-engine uh, uh, jet airplane is ahead of you or and above you, they're gonna be creating this wake turbulence, so you can definitely feel it. Okay, what operational procedures should be followed when wake vortices are suspected to exist? So if you are expecting that, okay, you are in close vicinity of big airplanes, what procedure? The procedure is going to be that landing behind a larger aircraft on the same runway. If this is a scenario that you have, if we have a landing strip and a big airport landed and you are actually landing behind him, stay at or above the larger aircraft final approach flight plan. So maybe he took this flight approach, so you gonna be staying at or above. You're gonna be, don't come behind him, stay at or above that one. Then you can avoid it. If you are landing behind a larger aircraft when parallel runway is closer than 2500 feet. So basically if you do have a parallel runway, right, consider possible drift to your runway. So basically if he landed over here and you are landing over here, so just consider that, okay, maybe you're gonna have a possible drift, so you may need to take in consideration. Okay, and landing behind a larger aircraft crossing runway, right? So maybe he landed here and there is another runway here, right? So note that the larger aircraft rotation point and land well prior to the rotation point. So basically you need to understand, like, if where did they basically need to be aware of their rotation point, and so where they rotated, right? You need to actually, if possible, again depending on the situation here, you can actually try to land here if you don't need that much of runway, stuff like that. Okay, now if we are landing behind a departing larger so if an aircraft just taking off and you are landing behind him, again you need to note the larger aircraft's rotation point, right? If past the intersection, continue the approach and land prior to the intersection. So basically when he had the turn the rotation point where he started rotating, if you can actually try to make it before, if you can land it before the rotation point starts, you should do that. Or you can just abandon the approach if you can't handle that. Okay, then what are the several examples of illusions that may lead to landing errors? So I'm gonna call them out here. So basically the illusions which can happen or which can occur, which can actually lead to the landing errors, right? You can have a runway width illusion, right? Like basically it's a narrower than usual runway, can create the illusion that the aircraft is at a higher altitude than it actually is. So maybe you it's a new airport to you, and the runway, if it is not if it is narrower, you may think that it is that you are actually higher altitude. You can get that error. And again, if it is yeah, that's the one illusion. The other one is the runway and terrain slope illusion. So an upsloping runway and upsloping terrain, or even both, can create an illusion that the aircraft is at the higher altitude than it actually is. So if you have some terrains where the mountains are, they can actually create an illusion that you are at a higher altitude. Then we have the featureless terrain illusion, basically an absence of the ground features, as when landing over water or darkened areas and terrain made featureless by snow. They can create the illusion that the aircraft is at higher altitude than it actually is. And the last one is the atmospheric illusion, where the rain on the wind screen can create the illusion of greater height. Most of them, they think you are at a higher height than you really are, which is really scary. Thinking that you are at a higher altitude is not that good compared to having an illusion that you are at a lower altitude, because then you're going to be making some decisions to do something. But if something is creating an illusion that you are at a higher altitude, it is really scary. Okay, we want to talk about LAHSO. What is it? And yeah, so this is the land and hold short operations. So at controlled airports, this is land and hold short operations. So this at controlled airport, the ATC may clear a pilot to land and hold short of an intersecting runway. And it is very important thing, because let's say if you have runways which are intersecting, he may ask you to land and hold short of the runway, right? So right. So pilots may accept such clearance provided to the pilot in command, and determines the aircraft can safely land and stop within the available landing distance. So basically, they may ask you, and you have the right to kind of tell them that, like, you can accept the that you're gonna be able to do that, or you can refuse to do that, and he's gonna make sure that you. He's gonna give you the proper guidance in order to maybe schedule you, or give you another route or another runway to land. Okay, what are available landing distance, and where can it be found? The landing available distance, also known as available landing distance, ALDs. So the ALDs can be found in the chart supplement US and in the US terminal procedures publications. Okay, a couple of more things I wanted to cover. One is like, what is the recommended collision avoidance procedures and considerations in different scenarios. So remember that before takeoff, right? And so there are definitely many situations where you need to do the collision avoidance, right? So before takeoff, right, prior to taxiing onto the runway and landing area in preparation for takeoff, pilots should scan the approach area for possible landing traffic. And they should normally, if you have been flying, you will notice that they look to the right and say clear, and sometimes they even sometimes sometimes the window is open, and they kind of say it loudly outside too, that clear to the right, clear to the left, after scanning for the traffic. Then we are climbing and descents, right? So during that, again, look for the visuals. Basically, look for the traffic, and always do a gentle, again, just like a car, like you are making descents, and so you're gonna be doing the gentle descents or climbs before actually. So instead of, basically what I'm trying to say is, like, instead of going directly to that altitude, make little banks in order to get there. Okay, straight and level. Again, the pilot should execute appropriate clearing procedure at periodic intervals. That's gonna definitely avoid the then traffic patterns. So entries into the traffic patterns while descending should be avoided. You should not, like, as we did talk about it, that whenever we are entering into the traffic pattern, we should be entering in a level flight. It should not happen that you are descending at the same time, right? Traffic at war sites. So these are the traffic at the war sites are, like, especially for the VFR, due to the converging traffic, sustained vigilance should be maintained, right, in the vicinity of that wars. Then training operations, again, you need to be vigilant, and especially when we are actually going for the check ride, and with the instructors, and we are doing these training operations, we clear by making little banks, just to make sure that no traffic is out there. And the last thing I wanted to cover is, where should you look for the drones in your area. So these unmanned aircraft systems cannot operate in controlled airspace, or they should not operate in the controlled airspace without obtaining a waiver. So the drones must fly below 400 feet above ground level, right? And so basically you should just be aware that if you are at that vicinity, like, you may be able to find some drones out there. Those were the things I wanted to cover. Thanks for watching.